555 Jacksonville.
Second down, 13. At the 45 of Baltimore. Brunell back in the pocket. Has a bit of time now being chased. Plants throws. He's looking downfield. He's got a receiver. And it is caught. Jimmy Smith at the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacksonville. Wayne starts for 45 yards. Barks out for signals. Drops to throw. Has time. Fires the slant. Jimmy's got it this time. 35, 30. Middle of the field. 20. He's going to the 20-yard line. He's going to score. 10, 5. Jimmy Smith. Touchdown. And the Jaguars are right back in this ball game. Barks out the signals. Pressure coming. Steps up. Steps. Turns. Throws. He's got Jimmy. First down. 20. There he goes. 10, 5. Touchdown. Win. Jacksonville. Done under pressure. Steps to avoid. Turns and throws. He's got him in. Caught Jimmy inside the 40-yard line to the 37 and down to the 36.
Congratulations to Jimmy Smith. That is now his 800th career reception, and what a play to get it on.
This team winning right now, it helps bring so much attention to our franchise, what we did back in the day, like we were talking about, these Hall of Fame conversations. But when we're winning, we see the conversations pick up. So we have noticed that. So obviously, I'm pulling for my team to get to this Super Bowl.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Tom McManus, and Dylan Denmark.
As we do get rolling here on a Friday edition, put a bow on the week here on Jaguars Today. Tommy Mack joining me for the third of the 4 days this week.
About it, man. I've been around here a lot this week.
Yes, sir. Your typical Friday shift with us here on Jaguars Today.
Happy Friday.
Yes, sir. How was the, I saw you tweeting out yesterday about you had rehearsal for Gaston.
We did. Oh, yeah, man. We're full force, full steam ahead. Nancy Dance Studios' 40th year celebration for their year-end recital, and they always do a ballet for half of it. I think this is like my 5th appearance in the ballet, maybe 4, something like that. Playing Gaston and Beauty and the Beast. And
still need rehearsal 5 years in?
Well, it's the first time we did Beauty and the Beast was 13 years ago, and the Beast and I are the same. So the Beast came back. My friend Kevin Snyder, who's a good dude, he came back, and actually I was getting ready to show you the video. The rehearsal was last night, so my wife was in there. She filmed the fight scene, and I got to show you when I stabbed the Beast. You're going to love it. So much fun. But, yeah, man, it was good. It's going to be a great show, and it's fun, man. The kids are great. They're into it. My daughter's playing Lumiere, the light fixture. They all come to life, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a good story, and it'll be a great time.
That is fun, man.
Hell yeah!
Did you get to avoid the weather when it came in, like getting there and coming back?
Yeah,
I know
we were inside. Yeah, actually 2 nights in a row it was like that. So it's kind of weird when you're in the studio and you're hearing all the banging from the thunder and the lightning. You're like, oh no, is this turning into Twister?
Yeah.
Which wall am I going to have to hold up?
Yeah, the weather was serious yesterday.
No doubt.
Yeah,
it is the season, right?
It's that time of year, yeah. It felt like my entire youth was really hot all day, thunderstorm in the afternoon for about 20 minutes, and then you were clear.
Yeah, but I know from growing up in Illinois, like if a thunderstorm came through, that meant we lifted up the garage and we grabbed the beach chairs, and my parents, and they would sit there and we'd watch the storm. Mm-hmm. You don't do that in Florida.
No, yeah.
You don't sit there like just kind of hang out, have a drink, and watch the storm go by. You're like, oh, man, I hope the trees don't come down.
There is a bunch of that. There's no doubt in that regard. We are going to talk a lot of pass rush today on the show.
Good.
Which is made obvious by the question of the day. Before we get into our expectations for the players, Tommy, on the 2025 roster today, I want to take advantage of having you in.
Okay.
With you having had the chance to play professional football.
Okay.
Right? Who were the best pass rushers that you got to play with in your football career? That could be high school, college, wherever you got to play, obviously including your time here in Jacksonville, just the handful of the best pass rushers that you got to play with.
Okay.
Who were they?
Tony Brack, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, T. Brack was very, very good. You saying played with or played against? Well, I wouldn't really played against her, but played against her team kind of deal or what?
It could be either.
Anything. I'll stick with our team. Kevin Hardy's a good pass rusher. Mm-hmm. Joel Schmingy. Mm-hmm. Clyde was great. Logs could rush. We had a good defense back in the day. Our front was really tough. I'm trying to think. I mean, gosh, I think of all the quarterbacks I played against, like Elway and Marino, and, who were their guys. They had Jason Taylor, I guess. He was Miami when we played him.
Yeah.
The boys from Willie McGinnis, Chris Slade from the Patriots. They were good back in the day. I don't know. I'd have to think even further.
Sure.
Yeah, I in running backs and quarterbacks, I can do that, but not the pass rushers.
Well, with a guy like Brackens, the guys that you got to play with, practice with every day.
Yeah.
What made them great?
Well, Tony Brackens was just a rare combination of size, speed, quickness, and strength. I mean, he had every bit. His bend was so natural to the QB. He had really long arms. He was very quick. 6'5", 270, something like that. He was good against the run. He was strong as a bull. That guy was, just wicked strong. If he didn't hurt his knee, I think he would have been one of the better defensive edge rushers to play in his era. I think he was that good. But I think his teammates made him good. I think they held him to a really high standard because they knew how good he could be. Like the Loggeman, Clyde Simmons, those guys. They just would help him out and really show him how to do it. But he was a natural, man. He was great. Him, Kevin Hardy, and Beasley and Cheever, that draft class, and Reggie Barlow. What a draft class. Are you kidding me? Some of the top 25 guys. But what made him great? He was, it's funny because he was a second rounder because of the knee. They had concerns about his knee from what I remember, but he was the only, what was the stat? He was the only defender to sack Cordell Stewart twice in a game when Cordell was at Colorado.
Yeah.
And that was like a really big feat. So he was just a rare blend of everything, man. He could do it all.
The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day, as I teased a moment ago, will be about the pass rush here in Jacksonville. Okay. The question, how many players will finish the 2025 season with 5 or more sacks for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Your options, 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5 or more.
Okay.
And
I got mine.
After having thought that was going to be the question of the day, I went and I gave myself a homework assignment.
Okay.
I went and looked at the 30-year history of the franchise.
Okay.
And went year by year and looked at I was specifically looking for who was third on the team in sacks.
Okay.
Is essentially what I was looking for year by year. But I found some pretty interesting stuff in there.
Okay.
Looking at in the 30 years, the number of years they didn't have 2 players with 5 sacks. Right? The number of years where they had 3 or more, and when you got into the upper numbers, how many years was that 3 exactly? How many was it 4? How many times in the 30-year franchise history have they had 5 players with 5 sacks? Right? And I know you and we've talked about it already earlier this week. I do think sacks are a number that there's not a whole lot of comprehension of what it actually is. Right, from a public perspective, as far as what's expected, right? Yeah. You go into an NFL season, you're generally going to have 16 to 22, 23 in a typical year, double-digit sack guys in the league. Right? Like that's a really high bar in the league. You're a double-digit sack guy, you're among the better. Yeah. Right? The group of the better. And there is this idea, I think, that people have in their head of a guy like Josh Hines-Allen. Not that I'm not disappointed with the season he just had. I am, right? I expect more. The 17.5 tells you to expect more, right, from Josh Hines-Allen than what you got last year. But there's going to be a handful. There's going to be 2, 3, maybe 4 guys in the league that are really the double-digit every year. 4, 5, 6 years in a row. That's T.J. Watt. That's Myles Garrett. Right, there's going to be a handful of those guys in the league, but not everyone's going to live to that bar. I think that we can talk about disappointment with Josh Hines-Allen not being at that bar, yet speaks to our expectations of the potential of a guy like Josh Hines-Allen, which we can discuss as we go through the show today. I would assume that most people will say the Jags are going to have at least the 2 that are going to get the 5 or more.
Just 5,
Right, with Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. So I'd expect the number to be 2, but I did put the option of 1 to 2, right, for this football team this year. But I think the fun in this conversation is going to be that we can talk about who we expect to be the 5-sack guys outside of that, but we can also really talk about the expectations that we have for everybody. And that would include Josh Hines-Allen. And what is a good season? What is a great season for him at this point in his career? And what would be a disappointing season? Like, where's the bar of he's not hitting the minimum of what I would expect out of a guy like Josh Hines-Allen? We can do it with Walker. We can do it with all of them. But it is a bit of a different conversation with Hines-Allen specifically than it is the other guys, because there is such a high expectation for him year to year right now.
Well, especially after the big contract.
You set the bar for yourself. Yeah,
for sure. You know, it's funny, homework assignment. So I did one too, because when we were talking about pressures, it got me thinking, right? We went over the pressures and what do they mean. I found I think it's Pro Football Reference, their pressures are hurries and knockdowns, which made more sense to me. You know what I mean? So that means you're really affecting the QB.
Sure.
You know, pressure can be kind of subjective to me. Like, I pressure him out of the pocket, but he makes a throw for a first down.
Yeah.
The pressure doesn't mean anything.
It's ESPN has, it's like if you're within X distance of the quarterback at any point on a play, they give you a pressure kind of thing. And I guess they can do that with all the next-gen stuff.
A hurry makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? You're hurrying the throw. Yeah. You're making him release it before he wants. Knockdowns matter. QB hits matter.
Yeah.
And from 23 to 24 with Josh Hines-Allen, I looked at Trayvon, and I looked at some other guys on the interior, which was very disappointing. Very disappointing. It's amazing our outside guys even did what they did with hardly any pressure from the inside.
Sure.
That's Armstead included, for the record. But 23, he had 46 pressures, which is hurries and knockdowns, and then the 17.5 sacks Josh Hines-Allen did. The next year, 24, he had 29 and 8. So that's a pretty decent 17 different hurries, which are knockdowns and pressures, and then the sacks. But as far as the ratio, there's no direct science. It's all over the board.
Oh, for sure.
Even with their pressures, what they meant, hits and hurries. So like Trey Hendrickson, 17.5 sacks both years. He had way more pressures the year before, like 15 more, but he still had the same amount of sacks.
Right.
So there's no direct science to it. But Chris Jones, how many sacks do you think he had last year?
4.5.
8.
Yeah, he had 5, really good guess, but year before he had 10.5, same amount of pressures. So what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, do they just slip out of your hands?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things happen in the game. I don't know. The guy, you think you got him, he bounces off here. Somebody knocks you off him, or whatever the case may be. But anyway, I just thought it was fascinating because I went through a bunch. And then when I got to our interior guys from last year, you understand how I feel about, like, Devon Hamilton and Ledbetter and Lacey and those guys. I mean, it was very minimal as far as pressure. And now Eric Armstead wasn't much better, and I think it'll be better with him
it
inside.
showed up. Like, the numbers are telling you the story of the season, right? Like, there's no lie in it. It tells you that they might have something remarkable, right? And guys like Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, that these are two really good players.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to figure out some way to allow them to be great. They can't just be really good. They have the potential to be great.
Yep.
Create an opportunity for them to be great, as we talked about on Wednesday when we were talking about what they would combine for.
Yep.
So much of the focus of the offseason has been build it for Trevor.
Yeah.
Right, on the offensive side.
You're right.
And it should be.
Oh,
it's necessary for it to be that. Well, on the defensive side, I think the focus really should be, let's let Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker be great.
Yep.
How do we let them be great? Right, should be what the defense should be about. And whether or not they've done that, we can have the open discussion on that, but today's going to be about what them being great would look like.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
And what they would need from the other guys for that kind of thing to happen as well. We'll react a little bit on the show today to the second episode of The Hunt for this season that came out last night. It was a fun 40 minutes watching the behind the scenes of how the whole Hunter thing happened here in Jacksonville. We'll let you hear a few of the cuts from that today as well. Obviously going to be talking a lot of pass rush with Tom McManus here today on the show.
Go.
That'll be fun. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you as we get things rolling here on a Friday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Because at the end of your workday, you just might need a lift.
Let's go home.
Let the Franchi Show drive you home.
Are we ready? Yes. Good.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
Would you like to drive for a while?
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
This summer, get ready to rock like never before. The Jacksonville Rock Orchestra brings the thunder with an electrifying night of Led Zeppelin like you've never heard it. Live at the Florida Theater, June 4th. Cashmere, Whole Lotta Love, and Stairway to Heaven reimagined with the full power of a rock orchestra. Led Zeppelin, orchestra style, only in Jacksonville. Get your tickets before they're gone at floridatheater.com.
Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars. Make them your AC partner with honest cost estimates before they start the work with no hidden fees. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Listen all day as 1010XL gives you news, notes, and analysis of organized team activities as they get ready for the upcoming season. Our coverage of OTAs is hoisted by Heroes Lawn Care and Hurricane Grill and Wings.
I'm Brendan with Checkmate Coatings. We coat it all. Garages, pool decks, driveways, and patios. Be the envy of your neighbors.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Summer and fall registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball, plus girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. Fields and gyms all over the First Coast. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find something to do. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
No one knows more about fishing the First Coast than Captain Kevin Favor. The Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Reeled in by the Pest Pros at Royal Pest Services. And Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Thursday nights at 6.
On 1010XL AM.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Pacifico, discovered by accident.
Yeah, the story goes, a group of friends went down to Mexico looking for some legendary waves. They never found them. But what they did find was something even better. An unforgettable Mexican lager.
Where'd you hear that?
Tell your next great story with a friend and a delicious Pacifico Mexican lager.
Pacifico, find your own way.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low fives, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Or, guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through May 31st. Financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Mac in the Middle, Tom McManus. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service. On 1010XL.
Tony Smith, Tom McManus going to talk pressure on the quarterback today. The sack numbers for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day. How many players will finish this season with 5 or more sacks for the Jags? And as I said, I did assign myself the homework assignment. And I looked at the 30-year history of the Jaguars franchise and what this number has looked like, right? Specifically at 5 was what I was looking at. So I was trying, the idea was I was going to go and look at who finished third on the team every year,
okay,
and what was the number of sacks that they had. And so when I went and looked at that, in the history of the team, they have had less than 2 players with 5 sacks in 9 of their 30 seasons.
Wow.
Right? So almost a third of the time, that's where the Jags have wound up.
Really?
They've had 3 or more players with 5 sacks in 5 sacks in 11 of their seasons. So the other 10, they had exactly 2 players with 5 sacks. Now, among the 3 or more, they had that number exactly in 3 of those seasons, 4 exactly in 6 of those seasons. They've done 5 twice, but they've never had more than 5 in any season. In 2005, Reggie Hayward led the team with 8.5. Paul Spicer at 7.5.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Peterson and Rob Meyer with 6. Bobby McCray had 5.5 that year. That was a playoff year.
Good defense.
Yeah, for the football team.
Yeah.
The only other time in franchise history they've done that was not 1999, which would be where my head would go because I know they had the 3 double-digit guys that year. In 1999, they wound up with Gary Walker and Joel Schminge, the 3 and 4 on the list. Schminge wound up with 5. But they had 4 players that year with 5 or more. The only other season with 5 or more was 2001. Tony Brackens had 11. Gary Walker 7.5. Kevin Hardy 5.5. Seth Payne and Ronaldo Wen both had 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they've had 4 seasons where no one had 5 sacks.
Wow.
And if you go back and look at that, it's Joel Schminge the first year.
Yep.
He led the team in 1995 with 4. In 2008, Reggie Hayward led the team with 4.5.
Wow.
In 2009, John Henderson led the team with 3.
Ooh.
In 2009. And then in 2012, Tyson Alualu led the team with 3.5.
Wow.
Right.
Damn.
So you start looking at the history. I mean, it is what it is.
Reggie got hurt. That was a shame. He tore that Achilles. He was a heck of a passer.
And those kind of things aren't taken into account when you're looking at a full season.
No, right.
You don't know if there was a guy that may have been close. For instance, going to talk exclusively a little bit probably about Josh Hines-Allen here in this segment, but Josh Hines-Allen is the only team that he's been on that didn't have the 2 players with 5 or more sacks, which I do think says something when you look at the history of the franchise there. It tells you that Josh is pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's a pretty consistent player. But the only season that he didn't have, the team didn't have 2 players with 5 sacks was 2020, right? That season, Josh only played 8 games and finished tied for second on the team with Joe Schobert.
Oh, wow.
With 2.5 sacks that year. Smoot had 5.5 to lead the team.
Okay.
Right? And Josh Hines-Allen had those 2.5 sacks on 11 quarterback hits, which is a number we talked about.
Right.
You know, like that tends to be more of like a 5-6 sack season.
Right.
Typically, if you're getting that number of quarterback hits in the 8 games in which he played, it's so the 2.5 is a little bit deceiving. Maybe he played more like a 5-sack guy that year, but the number is what the number is.
Right.
Right. Like it winds up at 2.5. So maybe even that season is an exception to an exception.
Yeah.
Kind of thing where he played more like a 5-sack guy, but it only had the 2.5 when everything was said and done. So let's hash it out a little bit with Josh.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If pressures are knockdowns.
Okay.
In the true sense, QB hits.
Yeah.
I mean, sacks are important because you get the lost yardage.
Mm-hmm.
But knocking the quarterback down and forcing an incomplete pass is very important as well.
No doubt.
So how much sacks? I know sacks is the sacks. Don't get me wrong. I want our guys to have.
It's the easiest one to read.
Yeah. And it's sexy, right?
Yeah.
How many sacks? I got 15 sacks. You know what I mean? It's big. I'm leading the league in sacks. Everyone's like, wow, he's leading the league in sacks.
Yeah.
But what about leading the league in QB hits?
Right.
That might not result in as many sacks.
Right.
So to your point, like that job, because we were trying to figure out that ratio this week, and there's no direct ratio.
It's not 1-to-1.
It's
like
not.
how you feel about it. I think it's the QB hits number is a good number to give you an idea of the kind of season they had.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it may be a more telling stat as to the kind of season they had than even the sack number is. Right. Like
as long as tackle for losses are up there too.
Right.
Throw that in the mix.
Like, which is where when you talk about that season in 2020 that Josh had, where he had the 2.5 sacks, but he had the 11 quarterback hits in 8 games. So it would feel more like his impact on the game was probably closer to a 5-sack guy.
Yep.
You know, like that kind of, it's the easiest way for me to understand it in my mind as to what those numbers would mean.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the sack number is the sack number. So that's the counting stat, right, for those kind of things. But it's what kind of player was he that year?
Right.
In my head, I look at the quarterback hits number and say, all right, he's a guy that in 8 games was going to be like a 5-sack guy. So he's probably on his way to close to a 10-sack season, right? Like the impact he was having was that kind of impact.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So it's not a 1-to-1 thing.
No, it's not.
Right? Like the different
not at all.
numbers mean different things. But I think when you're talking about like the grade they're getting in the building, which I don't know.
Right.
You know what kind of grades guys are getting inside these buildings because you've gone through that kind of thing. I think the quarterback hits number gives you a more honest evaluation of what the grade probably looks like inside the building.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. You just look, you're wreaking havoc, if you're hitting the QB. Sacks are very important. I'm not downplaying them at all, obviously, but the pressures just, I think, tend to get people a little bit misconstrued. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, 8 pressures. Well, so what? What they result in? If they result in the first downs, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. If they didn't, if you hurried him into a bad throw and he sailed it or missed the throw or whatever.
Right. And as you know, it might be you get a good grade for that player on that play. What were the other 10 guys doing?
No, right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the individual grade doesn't give you a picture of what the whole team was doing on a given play.
Right.
That kind of thing. So it's not a 1-to-1 thing, but it gives you a grade for him.
Right.
That I think is fair to look at QB hits as maybe a more fair grade of what somebody is this is how much he affects the quarterback.
Right. And just think about this with stats. Like, you could make a tackle as a backer, but it's 6 yards downfield. At the end of the day, they don't sit there and say what all your tackles were. That's just one of 20. Maybe I made 20 tackles that game.
Right.
But half of them are down the field.
Yeah.
That just means I hustle.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me a great tackler. It just means I hustle and get to the ball even when I may have been blocked. So, by the way, my grade is probably a negative, even though I get the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, you got blocked. Then you came off the block, but he's 7 yards past, or whatever.
Right.
He's getting a 7-yard gain. Then you make the tackle. Well, that's not a positive play, but you get the tackle, so it can be deceiving.
Yeah, the stat counts.
The stat counts, but
the grade counts more. And only inside the building do they
it
have,
counts a lot more.
Right, what that grade is actually going to be on all these guys. Do want to get into these players specifically. Among the pass rush group here for Jacksonville. We'll talk about Josh Hines-Allen here in the next segment specifically. With the questions in mind, Tommy, what does a great season look like for him?
Yep.
What does a good season look like for him? And what does a disappointing season look like for him?
Fair.
And we'll probably talk about him and Trayvon maybe in the same segment and then get to some of the other guys who could potentially push that 5-sack mark as well as we continue through the show today. Talking quarterback pressure here on Jaguars Today. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you on Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios at 1010XL. There's a certain romance to radio play-by-play.
We need you to be all strong and hot.
Experience the most play-by-play sports on 1010XL.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here from Helmets and Heels, inviting you to join us live at the brand new Kia on Atlantic this Friday. From noon to 2, we're talking sports, cars, and a boatload of prizes. The first person to arrive in their own Kia during the live show wins a free set of tires. You could score club seats to a Jaguars game with a parking pass or a pair of tickets to see Live and Collective Soul at Daly's Place. Plus, giving away 2 free oil changes and 2 alignments. So join Helmets and Heels this Friday, noon to 2 at the new Kia on Atlantic.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
Got a leaky faucet, AC blowing hot air, a funky smelling septic tank? No worries, Duck Rooter has your back. We're your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning, so you can stop juggling 3 companies and just make one easy call. Our expert techs are fast, friendly, and really know their ducks. I mean stuff. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckrooter.com. Duck Rooter, plumbing, septic, AC, and a whole lot of quacking good service.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron, totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens, also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings, and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Everyone seems to be in a time crunch these days. Well, don't forget you can always count on the cold case at Daly's. Always convenient, always cold. Whether it's the king of beers, Natty Light, Stella, or Cigar City, or Goose Island or Bud Light Seltzer, dash into Daly's and grab one to go.
Life happens every day, and sometimes it gets in the way. That's why 1010XL makes it easy to listen to your favorites. If you missed it, get it on demand
At 1010XL.com.
Channeled by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. It's been a few months since they built my custom closet. Even my family is obsessed. And with Father's Day right around the corner, why not surprise Dad with his own custom garage workspace? Tool storage, workbenches, the whole works. Closets by Design creates custom solutions for every space, lifestyle, and budget. That includes Dad's. Call to schedule your free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. Visit closetsbydesign.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Did you know that mosquito bites could lead to heartworms for your dog or cat? When mosquitoes show up, pet parents want them gone. Terminix takes mosquitoes down fast, just like they did at my house for our pup. Terminix knows that pets are part of the family. They do what it takes to help protect them. When mosquitoes show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a mosquito problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove.
Tom McManus. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service on 1010XL.
Shake that thing, gonna make you burn, gonna make you stay.
Once again, it's just hard to speak over Zeppelin.
Yeah, you got to let them play out.
Right, just a little bit. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you as we take a look at the expectations really for the pass rush for the Jacksonville Jaguars this season is what we're going to be talking about. And specifically want to talk about Josh Hines-Allen. That's where this conversation is necessarily going to start. Yep. As I mentioned before the break, the three questions I would like to hear an answer about: what does a great season look like for him? What does a good season look like for him? Mm-hmm. What does a disappointing season look like for Josh Hines-Allen?
Okay.
So great, good, disappointing.
Okay. Disappointing would be another 8-sack performance.
Okay.
Look, it is what it is. You know, you can say pressures, you can say hits, but at the end of the day, he's paid to have sacks. That's why he's one of the highest paid players at his position. Trey Hendrickson went back-to-back 17.5 sacks. Mm-hmm. I want to see that out of my guy who was 17.5, got paid as a 17.5, and then drops to 8. Josh is a very good player. There's no doubt, and probably one of the greatest players when his career's over that played defense for the Jags. The only issue I've ever had with Josh is prior to his 17.5 season, he would disappear for games. He'd have a massive game, like you would remember that one year against the Bills. He had like 3 sacks and a fumble and maybe an interception. I don't know. He'd just have monster games, and then you wouldn't hear his name. 2 years ago, he was phenomenal. I mean, his stats show it, and not just the sacks. You go look at, and however you view about pressures, hits, whatever, they were ranked very high in the National Football League.
Yeah, you get 30-plus quarterback hits, you had a monster year.
46 he had.
Yeah.
46 as far as what hurries and hits combined, which is a big, big number. So I'd expect him to be up. Now, an okay year would be around 12, you know, if we're just talking sacks.
Sure.
Like, that'd be good. Double digits, 12, good. Great year would be 15-plus. But I think for him to get 15-plus, I think your interior guys are eating. Our interior guys, and granted, stats only tell a certain part of the story. But our interior guys, when I went through that list of looking at pressures in 2024, and pressures being hurries and knockdowns, and Eric Armstead was our leader from the interior with 11 for the year. 11. That's out of 16 games.
No.
It's not good. No. It doesn't help your outside guys whatsoever, and I know he played some outside. Devin Lloyd, by the way, only 6 pressures but 2 sacks. Mason Smith, only 6 pressures but 3 sacks. Right? And he didn't come on until later in the year. Devon Hamilton, from this Pro Football Reference I'm referencing to, he had 5 pressures and 0 sacks. That's not helping your guys out at all.
Right.
It's just not enough. Ledbetter was 4, I think. Now, he had 2 sacks. The one came on the flip, somersault, or the backflip, when he hustled and chased down Aaron Rodgers. It was a great hustle play. That's just not enough pressure.
Sure.
That's not enough
when
presence inside to even help your defense be anywhere near it needs to be.
There's no doubt. And when you look at the career for Josh Hines-Allen here in Jacksonville, I mentioned the one season that they didn't have 2 guys at least that had 5 sacks on a team that he was on was 2020, and that's the season he only played half the year. And he wound up with 2.5 on the 11 quarterback hits, right? Like all that kind of stuff. Smoot led the team that year with 5.5. The only year where they've had 3 or more guys that had 5 sacks on a team that Josh Hines-Allen was on was 2019. That's his rookie year.
Yeah.
He was a Pro Bowler that year, 10.5 sacks.
Right.
3rd and 4th on the team that year. Calais Campbell had 6.5. DeJuan Smoot had 6.
Okay.
Right? And that was kind of the last kind of
remnants. What did
Ngakoue
Ngakoue have, like 9?
I think he was up in that kind of range. Yeah, that 8 or 9 kind of range that season. In the 4 seasons since 2020, the players 3rd on the team in sacks for the Jags. In 2021, Damian Wilson and Roy Robertson Harris with 3.
Wow.
2022, Arden Key with 4.5. 2023, when he had both these guys got the double-digit sack numbers. Roy Robertson Harris with 3.5.
3.5,
2024, Mason Smith was 3rd on the team last year with 3. Right? So Josh Hines-Allen has only been on one defense where the 3rd guy on the team had that 5 sack number, which I think speaks to talking about that interior rush. Since Calais has been gone, Josh hadn't had that help.
No.
Right? Like on the
we
interior.
We thought we were getting it with Eric last year.
Right. It just hasn't happened that kind of way. And I do think Trayvon, the conversation is similar as far as whatever you think the ceiling is on a season for Trayvon Walker. It's going to be obviously impacted by whatever they find on the interior of this defensive line. But answering those same questions for Trayvon Walker, I think it's fair that Hines-Allen would be 15 is where you're looking. This is where we think he can get to in a season with Trayvon Walker. Great, good, disappointing. What does that look like?
I think great would be another double digit, 11, maybe 12. Good would be 8. Bad would be 5. Yeah, something like that. I think Trayvon Walker to me is one of the most gifted players we have on the entire team. Naturally, physically gifted, and he's only getting better. So I wouldn't even be surprised if he's the one with 15 and Josh Hines-Allen's the one with 12. I think he's showing that he can really develop into a consistent performer. I like what he says. He said, I think it was yesterday, or the day before, about, hey, I want to be a full player, and he is. I think he's very good against the run when it comes his way. I think he's very stout, and I think he's only gotten better as a pass rusher. And I'd say the sky's the limit for. I think he's up for a breakout year, and he's already getting there, but I think he's up for a pretty big year.
My eagerness to be bold in something with Trayvon Walker is tempered by some of the things that we've been talking about, right, with the quarterback hits and how those translate to sacks.
Yep.
Right. I don't think it's a one-to-one thing, but I think it is a telling stat. I do think the quarterback hits is a telling stat for a football player. I think Trayvon Walker gets a bonus because he is a really effective run player. Right. So he had 13 tackles for loss last year. He had 10 2 years ago.
Yep.
Right. So I do think he's a really effective edge player for this football team, regardless of whatever the sack number is going to wind up being. I think he's a really good player on the edge for him. It's the 2 years ago when he had his first double-digit sack season, he had 19 quarterback hits. That correlates in my head. Yep. Usually about half your QB hits are going to be sacks.
Yep.
Right? That's generally how that number works. Last season, he had 10.5 sacks on 15 quarterback hits.
Okay.
Which speaks to how little they were getting from the interior again.
Yep.
And when I mentioned the other day that I thought he had a really standout season, it's that kind of number that makes me think standout season.
Yep.
When you wind up with basically 11 sacks, when you hit the quarterback 15 times, a lot of that feels like really good fortune, right? Like
a lot of it's just beating your man one-on-one and hitting the QB.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's that the 10.5 correlated to 15 makes me nervous in trying to see the path to 12.
Right.
Right. For Trayvon Walker specifically, because then you're talking about he would have to have essentially 7 or 8 more quarterback hits than he's had at any other season in his career to this point. I think he's capable of doing that kind of thing, but I think he's more independent, or he's more dependent on the interior picking it up to get to what I think the ceiling is going to be than I think Josh Hines-Allen is, because I think Josh has been shown to be very consistent in those kind of numbers. Right, like he's going to hit the quarterback about 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Josh is going to do.
Yeah,
virtually every year, he's going to be a guy that's going to hit the quarterback 20 times. You get him a little bit of help, I think he's going to be the guy that's going to hit him 35, 40 times.
Yep.
He's got that kind of talent in him. I don't know that I ever expect Trayvon Walker to be the 35, 40 guy. I think his cap is going to be more the 25 guy.
Yeah.
Which means I do think your ceiling is kind of in the right place, or at least the great season number is kind of in the right. 11-12 is a great season, I think, for Trayvon Walker. And a bad season would be, that 4-5. Like, kind of cut it in half. It's like, well, come on, man.
Yeah, we're expecting at least 10 out of him, I would think. But I think it's going to be even more.
And to some degree, it's a kind of a contract year, de facto kind of contract year. He does have the 5th-year option that they picked up, but it's a contract year in the sense that, no, it doesn't look like they're going to get the extension done this year, but you have another one of the kind of years that you've had the last 2, and there will be real pressure to get that extension done now without having to think about what do we do after the 5th-year option year.
Absolutely.
And he has the opportunity to present that pressure on the team.
Oh, of course, yeah. And if he does, that's a guy I would get done early for sure, because he's only going up, and I think it does really matter to him.
And there's nobody else that you have pressure to do it.
I mean, if you think about it, Tone, the past 2 years, they've both done it without any real inside help.
Yes, they have.
Josh having 17.5. Who was his interior guy? Who was it? Do we even remember? You know what I mean? Like, who was
Roy Robertson Harris?
Roy Robertson Harris, who had only 3.5.
Yeah.
Right. So that wasn't, that much of a presence.
Like Arden Key had a year where he's kind of the inside-outside guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where he had the 4.5 sack season here. But, there hadn't been much.
Hey, by the way, don't forget about Agba, who had 5 on 19 last year, I think. He was really effective for the Dolphins coming off the bench. So, maybe he's in that range. But, listen, I think we've got 2 of the better defensive ends / pass rusher / edge in the league. I mean, I think we do. They just need a little more help and a little more consistency. But I think they've the past 2 years they've shown it.
Yeah,
they've shown it.
Well, let's talk about where that help could be coming from. When we get beyond the top 2 guys who I think we both expect are going to be 5-sack guys for the football team, who are the other guys that are real candidates to be a 5-sack player for the Jacksonville Jaguars? We'll talk about that group of guys. We know the names.
Yep.
Just what are the expectations actually at? For Eric Armstead, Mason Smith, Emmanuel Ogbah specifically, right? And what we think they can do as far as these kind of counting numbers for the football team going into the 2025 season. Will they be good enough to provide the support that Josh and Trayvon are going to need in order to kind of reach towards those upper echelons of the numbers we just talked about there? We'll continue to talk about the pass rush for the Jacksonville Jaguars as you're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010 XL.
Jaguars Today. From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010 XL. Professional radio broadcasters.
Hey, guy. Sorry.
Dinner dozen gifts. A diner dozen.
That is awful.
So Cole.
I was flowing real good, then wasn't it?
You've got to be kidding me.
Professional, for crying out loud.
Who wrote this?
1010 XL.
Just when you thought we couldn't bring you more, Keon Atlantic is here with a brand new store. We have the same great team to treat you well. With new savings during our grand opening sale. Keon Atlantic is here with the new store. Shop our best offers and largest selection yet. Save big during our grand opening sale. Is there something for everyone on our lot? You bet. If you're ready to experience something new, the all-new Keon Atlantic is ready for you. Your perfect ride is a visit away. Online at KeonAtlantic.com. Keon Atlantic, your coastal Kia connection.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks, and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Want your son or daughter to enjoy sports year-round? Then log on to i9sports.com with summer and fall registration open right now, including girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows, plus plenty of other spots and sports on the First Coast. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 for a discount.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
It's the perfect day. You're just driving along, listening to your favorite music, the windows down. There's a cool breeze. Life is good. But wait, hold on a second. You're not wearing a seatbelt? You'd better put that on before that... Uh-oh, too late. Cops everywhere are stepping up enforcement, so you'd better buckle up or you will get caught. Sorry to ruin your day. Click it or ticket.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
One thing that separates Beard's Diamonds from those other jewelry stores at the town center, no one's paid on commission.
Nobody at Beard's is on commission. That's more of your corporate stores that pay commission.
Beard's owner, John Lupo, says that means no pressure, no hidden agenda, no extra markups.
And you're getting a better deal. You're not paying the corporate commission. You're not paying the salesperson's commission. If they're paying their salespeople commission, you're starting off in the hole.
And that's why you feel like a number at most jewelry stores, because it's all about making the sale, but not not at Beards.
Because it's a corporate atmosphere and they want to sell you what they want to sell you. We're here to sell you what you want. Our salespeople can do whatever they want to make sure that the customer is happy.
So relax. At Beards Diamonds, they have all the things you want, like quality education, selection, warranties, and none of the stuff you don't want, like pressure and tacked-on commissions.
Nobody's making an extra 5 or 10% on Beard's customers.
Beards Diamonds, the town center's only locally owned jeweler.
We sell better merchandise, better product for less money, guaranteed.
The Edwin Watts Golf Hour will meet you at the green.
Blue skies, fresh cut grass, birds chirping.
The Edwin Watts Golf Hour.
Grip it and rip it.
Get tips, tour notes, and the latest gear Saturday mornings at 10 on 1010XL.
What does your dream backyard look like? Hey, it's Joe C. and my friends at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Visit cssoutdoor.com.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL local sports update brought to you by Chad and Sandy Real Estate. As the youngest GM in the NFL, James Gladstone has been making a name for himself since his arrival in Duval. Coming from the Rams, this is Gladstone's first experience in a role like this, but after making some big moves in the draft, he was able to draw the attention to the Jaguars. The Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Tony Baselli, believes Gladstone is in his natural element.
A lot of people said a lot of things about James Gladstone. 34 years old, lacks experience, only been at one place. He was born to be a GM. He is focused, he's disciplined, he understands exactly what we're trying to accomplish, and he's a great communicator. Just at his core, it's natural for him to collaborate and bring everyone into the process. So everyone feels ownership in what we're doing. This is a dude who's a great leader, and he's going to be a great GM.
It's 83 degrees at 11 o'clock. Time in temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Tom McManus.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service on 1010XL.
Rolling along here on a Friday edition of Jaguars Today. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you. Mike Dempsey on assignment for one more day. He'll be back with us on Monday. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day. How many players will finish the 2025 season with 5 or more sacks for the Jaguars? 1 to 2, 3, 4, or 5 or more. We'll give our official answer to that here in just a little bit. But first, let's take a look around the rest of the National Football League.
Now, gems around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Adam Schefter reported yesterday that sources have told him the Miami Dolphins and Pittsburgh Steelers are engaged in trade conversations around tight end Jonnu Smith. Dallas linebacker Micah Parsons, who did attend part of the Cowboys' voluntary offseason earlier this month, was not in attendance for this week's OTAs. Parsons is seeking a new contract extension. Cowboys linebacker DeMarvion Overshown, who tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL week 14 last year, said on Thursday that he is eyeing a Thanksgiving Day return from that injury. Los Angeles has signed offensive tackle David Quessenberry to a one-year deal. Atlanta has re-signed offensive lineman Ryan Neusel, who has played the last 3 seasons for the Falcons after signing there as an undrafted free agent in 2022. A 2-year deal for him. Free agent pass rusher Von Miller told the AP that he does want to play somewhere this season. He was released by the Bills after 3 years there in Buffalo earlier in this offseason, and free agent tight end Mercedes Lewis told Kay Adams on the Up and Adams show yesterday that he is looking to play this year, which would be his 20th season in the NFL, but that this year would be his last. Mercedes is third in Jaguars franchise history in receiving yards and receptions with 4,502 yards, 375 catches. Second in receiving touchdowns with 33, behind only Jimmy Smith's 67. And third in Jaguars franchise history with 170 games played, behind only Brad Meester's 209 and Jimmy Smith's 171. So Jimmy got one more game in to Mercedes at some point.
I always felt like we never used Mercedes enough in the passing game. You know what I mean?
You and David Garrard, man. Every time we talk to GG, he's like, why aren't they throwing it to Mercedes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had the 10 touchdowns in 1 year, and the next year they never went to me. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's a great player.
That was cool. That year he was elected to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
And we were still across the street from here.
Right.
Right. And I just happened to be hosting a show that, like, on a Tuesday night or whatever it was, when the Pro Bowl announcements were being made, and Mercedes was in studio with me.
Okay.
Like, he was just kind enough to come by for a segment or two on the show, and I'm sitting there as the news breaks that Mercedes Lewis has been elected to the Pro Bowl, right? So I'm sitting there with him, and I'm like, hey, man, you just got elected to the Pro Bowl. He's like, for real? Like, like he was like,
that's cool. Yeah.
Like, he didn't know, that kind of thing before it happened. It was kind of cool to just.
I saw him at a Super Bowl party after he was, would they release him and then Green Bay picked him up?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to leave.
Right.
I was like, man, I'm sorry to see you go. Like, I don't know why you don't use you. He's like, I really didn't want to leave. He's like, but I had to leave. I said, man, we're going to miss you.
Yeah.
Great player, man. Still doing it after all this time.
It's crazy.
Pretty impressive.
20 years in the National
Football
Football
come on,
League
man.
Is
unreal.
madness.
That's genetically gifted of some kind.
Like,
gotta be.
And Calais feels like he has that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that magic is that occasionally somebody has. Tommy, I have as much respect as you can have for anyone that gets to a point where they get to put on an NFL uniform. And play. Like, it's crazy to achieve that kind of thing in your life. These guys that ever get to a second one, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, what you have to go through to get to a second NFL contract, and then guys that you're talking about playing a decade in the National Football League at positions where they're not protecting you from getting hit,
No, right.
Right? Like,
totally.
It's not punter, kicker, quarterback.
No, right.
Like, they don't want the quarterbacks getting hit any more than they have to be. So they're kind of protected, though not truly protected. They're still exposed to some of these hits. But these guys that play along the line of scrimmage, that find some way to make it a career, a decade or longer,
really
is nuts.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They keep their bodies in good shape year round. That's probably one of the reasons they stay. Little luck involved with no serious injuries, but even some guys that have had serious injuries, they come back and continue on.
Yeah.
It's just whatever it is, it's phenomenal. You can play that long.
Yeah.
You can forget about having to worry about doing anything. Your pension alone will be like
20 years.
Through the roof.
Played 19 seasons, Mercedes has.
He's a good guy, too, man. I'm happy for him.
And I think he's missed 17 or 18 games in his career.
Wow. Yeah, it's impressive.
Due to injury. Like, it is wild.
It's funny. I was thinking, you were talking about quarterbacks being protected. Remember not too long ago, it was like a rite of passage for a quarterback to have his chin split.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And they would just tape it up and put their chin strap back on.
Just it was one of the guys. Yeah.
No big deal. Like, blood was great.
Yeah.
As a linebacker, bleeding from the bridge of your nose. Like, that's like...
Yeah.
Like, that's a rite of passage. You're like, hell yeah, I'm bleeding.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of the, NFL Network will be showing a classic game.
Yeah.
Most afternoons. So if you flip it on, you might just happen to see something from the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah, there's blood.
The way that they used to play this game. Like, it is
unreal.
crazy.
Yeah.
The way that it used to work. Because, the training is different. It is all year long. You're in there somewhere.
Yep.
Right. So the athletes have changed that are playing in the NFL. They're bigger. They're stronger.
Oh, yeah.
They're faster.
For sure.
Certainly in the 80s and 90s is when that was starting to really turn in the National Football League. But what they didn't have yet were the rules that were in control of how violent it could be.
No, right.
Right. So you would have moments where you can watch these old games and be like, oh, they still have the mentality of, we're taking the quarterback out of this game.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, that's the way the game is played. We're going, if we can hit him, we're not just going to put him on the ground. We're killing him.
Any offensive. I mean, you used to be able to earhole tight ends. They'd be in their route.
Yeah.
Even 10 yards downfield, as long as the ball wasn't in the air, they didn't care. You could knock them right down.
Yeah. And I don't think the game is worse off necessarily for some of that stuff being out of it.
No.
Like, I'm still entertained watching it.
Yeah.
The game be played that way. Like on those old films, like it's fun to see it played kind of that raw.
Yeah.
Right? There's a different energy to it.
Right. No, for sure. And look, nobody ever wanted to hurt anybody. Like, at least not permanently. Maybe for the day, like not, ruin their day, not their career type thing.
No, it wasn't dirty.
No, well, it used to be dirty. They used to be the clothesline and all that other head slap.
That's back in the 60s.
That's way back, yeah. But yeah, listen, I mean, you talk about, a receiver coming over the middle, you try to take his head off. Like, that was part of the game. Running back in the hole, man, you're blasting him as hard as you can, and he's doing the same.
Well, and it made sense as with where the league was at. When the message you're trying to send as a defense is, this is our field. Right? Like, you come in here at your own risk. You know, and the league was okay with that being the message then. It's like, you can run players over the middle.
Right.
It's just when you do it, they're an endangered species in this part of the field.
Right.
It's not always going to be to your benefit to do it. And the league said, maybe we don't want it to be that way.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, I'm all right with the game kind of transitioning away from some of the level of violence that was in there. But I was also okay when that was the rule of the game. That was the rule of the game.
Yeah.
You come in here, this is the jungle.
Right. I tell you, one of the rules, like, I remember James Harrison just killing, I think it was a Cleveland Brown. He was just hanging in the backside zone. Players running free. Dang quarterback, didn't see Harrison or not. And
hung him out.
It was like a knockout. Like, he almost killed him. He hit him so hard.
Yeah.
That I was okay them taking that out of the game.
Yeah, that's perfect with the hit on Antonio Brown.
It's like getting sucker punched. It's such, it's a weak punch, that you got to sucker punch someone to win a fight. But not that James was doing that. I would never say that to his face either. But I'm being, and all kidding aside, like, that's almost too vicious. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. At least in today, they never let it happen today anyway. Again, you don't want to, it's good to give someone a headache and knock them out of the game. That's fine. But you don't want to, permanently, hurt them. Like when Darryl Stingley, remember in the 70s when Darryl Stingley got hit by Jack Tatum? You're like,
man. In today's
he didn't
league,
mean to do it, but it happened. It's vicious and violent. You don't want someone getting hurt like that.
Like, guys had reputations forever as kind of enforcers.
Remember Doug Plank?
Yeah.
From the Bears?
Right.
Oh.
Well, and Jacksonville's had that kind of, like, Donovan Darius was an enforcer.
Oh,
right?
All day long.
You came in there, if he had a clean shot at you, he was going to hurt you.
And you knew it.
Right. Like, it's not like anyone who got hit by Donovan didn't know he was there. That's the kind of thing he did. It's today's game, it's very clear what the distinction is.
Yeah.
Like, there are lines that you can't cross. It's Azeez Al-Shaair. You can't do that.
Right.
Right? Like, a quarterback that's sliding, you can't
You want
do that.
to, but you can't.
Right. And the game is governed in a fashion today that you do that kind of thing and everyone looks at you and says, dirty.
Villain.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, dirty player.
Yeah.
Is the reputation that you get, and you don't have to do it a whole bunch to get that reputation.
Right.
Right. But he's a guy who's had the fines and all that stuff that was going on before that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's to a point, that hit is egregious enough that people that are writing articles about, like, things that we can mark on the calendar for this season are marking Al-Shaair's going to be on the field again against Trevor Lawrence this year, right? Because those things have become so rare, so governed out of the game, that when they pop up, everyone who follows the game at all is like, oh, yeah, that's that guy that did that to Trevor.
Right.
Right? Like, that's the thing that they know about Azeez Al-Shaair is he's the guy who took that cheap shot on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. I think Double D went through that with that. Remember that hit on Ferguson up in Green Bay? I loved it. I was like, that's what a safety. See, and I was just going to say, like, to me, Double D's game today should be allowed, as opposed to maybe Tatum 30, 40 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's still vicious, still violent, but it wasn't dirty.
Yeah, Cisco had some of that in him.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get it
like
back
last year, he was just too slow.
Yeah, he was too
to
slow.
do any. But there were a couple of years there where it felt like for the first time in a while they had that kind of personality potentially in the middle of the defense, but it never blossomed the way that it could have potentially.
Double D from his rookie year. I mean, people knew that he was thumping.
Donovan's special.
He was a thumper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Donovan was a special player, and he's a special guy, too. I mean, Donovan's the best of the best, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
At everything he's got going on.
We don't have that on this team, but can you be that? Who is one of those guys? Who's a safety that strikes fear in coming over the middle these days? You know, other than like for quarterbacks getting picked off like a Minka Fitzpatrick or, somebody, ball hawker type, you know what I mean? But is there it used to be Jamal Adams, but he's fallen off the wayside, right?
Yeah.
You used to be afraid of Palomalu. He was a beast. He not only hit you, but make big plays. You had to always account for him.
Yeah,
Maybe the kid from Baltimore. I like his game. He's a good player. Kid from Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton, I think's his name.
I think Minka maybe has a little bit of that to his game, but even those guys, those are really good players on the ball.
You know who used to be a bomber of a hitter is Ryan Clark, who's on the pivot with Freddie. That guy used to lay people out, and you can't hit like that today. You know, when they're not looking, come across the middle looking for the ball, man, he would come up and crush people.
Yeah.
Just
like there are guys that are considered the really good safeties in the league. I don't know that any of them are considered enforcers.
Like Atwater, right? You didn't want to come up the middle.
Derwin James is a fantastic player. Right? But he's not a guy that necessarily you fear throwing towards him because he's going to make a play on the ball.
Not because he's going to hit. Well, he's still a pretty big dude. I would say he's probably one of the more feared safeties in the game today.
Right. But even that is kind of that his name, when we start that discussion a moment ago, and like the first thing that pops in your head is, don't want to mess with Derwin.
But you do have to account for him.
You got to account for him. He's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
Like Winfield Jr. is a fantastic player down there in Tampa, but it's not, the league is kind of.
That other dude, Middleton, he whacks people.
Yeah.
He's pretty.
It's kind of governed out the enforcer attitude.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they want it.
Well, penalties are the fines are too high.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit somebody too good today, it's like $50,000, and you're like going home to the wife. She's like, "Hey, you got to what? $50,000? That's supposed to go to my jewelry collection.
For what? Doing your job? I thought that's what you got paid to do.
You're supposed to hit
guys,
people.
right? Like,
yeah.
That kind of thing. We'll get back into some of the guys that we think are real candidates to be the 5+ sack
I got
guys,
mine for sure.
For the Jacksonville Jaguars, and what we think the floor and ceiling might be for guys like Armstead and Smith and Ogba for this football team specifically this year. As we continue to kick around the Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today, asking you how many players will finish the 2025 season with 5 or more sacks for the Jaguars. 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, or more. We'll give our answers as well. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010 XL.
Jaguars Today. You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Door Studios. Superior products, exceptional service.
We got a great show for you today.
Join the 1010XL Podcast Network.
A big show.
Now you can find all your favorite 1010XL podcasts in your platform of choice.
A king-size show.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here from Helmets and Heels, inviting you to join us live at the brand new Kia on Atlantic this Friday. From noon to 2, we're talking sports, cars, and a boatload of prizes. The first person to arrive in their own Kia during the live show wins a free set of tires. You could score club seats to a Jaguars game with a parking pass, or a pair of tickets to see Live and Collective Soul at Daly's Place. Plus, giving away 2 free oil changes and 2 alignments. So join Helmets and Heels this Friday, noon to 2 at the new Kia on Atlantic.
Plumbing problems? AC not blowing? Septic tank doing whatever septic tanks do? Don't call 3 different companies and play contractor roulette. Just call Duck Rooter. Waddle over to duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad. Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Prosser here. It's a great time to sell your home, and I got just the people to sell it for you. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down, activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though. Hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize your hassle, that's the key. And I've been telling you who those experts are. Are you listening? I recommend Chad and Sandy Newman. Go to chadandsandy.com, the local real estate experts you can trust with the sale of your home. No required costly repairs. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. So whatever problems you think you have,
I've got you this promise. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. There you go. Simple as that. Christopher on Anastasia Island. My home was too big for my needs. I wanted someplace smaller and easier to manage. I got multiple offers and sold in 3 days with Chad and Sandy. You can too at chadandsandy.com or 904-414-6200.
Hello. The Checkmate Coatings phone line has you covered from the floor up. From tough sports topics to strong surfaces, Checkmate Coatings is your floor's missing piece and your connection to the sports world on 1010XL.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is Max Fink with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Ackerman Urology has 4 convenient locations, providing advanced urological care to improve men's health and sexual vitality. Don't suffer through prostate, bladder, or kidney issues. Visit ackermanurology.com.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
2 classic albums, 1 night of hits. Styx presents The Grand Illusion. Kevin Cronin Band presents REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity. June 2nd, Daly's Place. Brotherhood of Rock Tour. Plus Don Felder, formerly of the Eagles. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. 2 classic albums in their entirety. Styx, The Grand Illusion, REO Speedwagon's High Infidelity. Don't miss the event of the summer.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's number 55.
Tom McManus.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service. On 1010XL.
We've talked about what the expectations necessarily should be for the top 2 sack guys, as they're expected to be this season for the Jaguars. And Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker. What would a bad season, great season look like for each of them? With the question of the day today asking how many players do we expect to have 5+ sacks this year, that speaks to, that's why I put it at 1-2 as kind of the bottom.
Yep.
I expect that it's going to be those 2 guys are going to hit that kind of mark. Who else on the team is going to hit that kind of mark? I think, I know you mentioned it on Wednesday. You said a number that I wouldn't be comfortable saying as far as the sack number for Eric Armstead. Yep. But talking about Eric Armstead as one of the next candidates to be a 5-sack guy for this football team, what does a great season and what does a disappointing season look like for Armstead?
If he does what he did last year, is very disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
11, whatever they call them, pressures or that, and 2 sacks. Like, that's terrible. It's like not doing anything.
Yeah.
Which I don't expect that. I expect a big year out of Eric. I think him playing back inside for the most part will be so much better for the team. He's a walking swim move over the guards. He's hard to handle one-on-one. He's only going to help, but he's getting 5 at least. I think he's going to get higher than that. But a disappointing year would be that. A good year would be in that 6, 7, 8 range, and really being a force on the run game. Really making a difference. You'll see. Your eyes will tell you if Eric Armstead is, being disruptive in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. You'll see. Look, he's hard to move, man. I tell you one thing. I know he got a lot of grief, and I gave it to him for, rushing from the edge because he just couldn't get there. But against the run, he was really good on the edge. Like, nobody was getting around him.
Mm-hmm.
And his point of attack, you watch him take on a block, nobody's moving him. You know what I mean? Or wasn't for the most part. But him back inside is going to help a lot. So I think a really good year with that 8 range, 7 range. A bad year will be that 2 range. I think Mason Smith's gonna get there too. I don't know how many he'll have, but he'll have at least 5 in my opinion. What he showed towards the end of the year, he could be a menace. I mean, listen, we remember the days of Stroud and Henderson. Now, I'm not going to say that Eric and Mason are Stroud and Henderson, but they're big enough to be. They're that physical presence is almost pretty close, if not a little bit bigger. You know, Eric could be John, and the other guy be Big Baby
Mason. Yeah,
Mason could be the way he is could be Stroud. Those guys were incredible. You saw what a difference that made. You talk about Reggie Hayward and Paul Spicer. Those guys were on the interior for those guys. You kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
So I think both those guys are going to be over 5.
Yeah, I don't. I think either of those guys getting to 5 would not be a bet that I would make. Right? Not me personally. I think that kind of, in my head, the ceiling for me, like a great season for me with Armstead would be in that 5 range. Like that's what I think a great season would look like for him. I think Mason, maybe the number's a little bit higher than that, given the youth, right? Like, so I do see the potential, right, for something a little bit bigger than that. But even with that, I would say at the most, I would expect him to be a 6-7 sack guy. And I'm very much of the opinion that if you have one interior guy that is pushing 5 sacks, you're getting enough. If you have 2 guys that are giving you that, then your 2 outside guys ought to just be eaten every day, right? Like if you have 2 guys that are kind of getting to that kind of level, I think everything else could potentially be working for the team defensively. I am not as bullish on, I think Armstead is a really good pro, right? And I don't know at this point in his career if he's anything more than that, which is why I have him more in kind of that 3 to 5 is where I think it's ultimately going to land for him, is somewhere in that range. I think Mason, given what we saw when he finally got his head on straight enough to get on the field, was an effective enough player that I leave very much open the possibility that he's going to be the guy that could give you that 6 to 8 from the interior. So I think he's got that potential to him, but if I had to bet that one, both, or neither of them would hit that 5 sack range, my bet would be neither. Get to the 5 sack
I'm putting money
mark.
down on at least one of them.
I hear you.
I would.
Like, I know you're bullish on the Armstead thing, and I would love for you to be right about it. Like, that's one of those where he's been a good enough player in his career. If they can just get what he was 3 years ago, 2 years ago even, which he's always been a guy who kind of lives in that more the 3 to 6 is kind of where he lives. Like, that's what his career has told us. I would love for him to be that kind of guy again, with them pushing him back to the interior.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Towards when you saw on the field Armstead inside, and whether he was to Josh Hines Allen side or Trayvon, they had penetration. They had penetration. It was almost like every time you're like, man, look how a difference it makes. And then when Mason started playing, Mason's just got to work on condition. He's got to be in really good condition, because when he gets tired, he gets up. And a lot of us do. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to, suck the air, want to catch your breath type thing. You're standing straight up. It's easier to stand straight up. But that's when you get knocked back. But I don't know. I look at him, and I'm with you on that 6 to 8 range. I just think Armstead, and this is the job of the front office, coaches included, like, get him lit to where, like, hey, man, your career's almost over. Mm-hmm. Let's go out with a bang. Whether you're here, future or not, let's go out with a bang. I really think that front 4 could be special. I really do. Mm-hmm. And I think they can, if they can all stay on the same page as far as what they want out of this season, I think that front 4 can be very formidable. After the starters, that's where I start questioning things. Now, I think Jordan Jefferson's got a lot of upside, but I want to see more of that. I think he did okay for not really being used, but I want to see more of that. The rest of the guys we've seen for the most part, unless the new guys that are here. I think Agba's going to get 5. I got 3 guys getting 5. And I know that is bullish, But let me tell you something. If you don't get the D-line going and you don't get affecting the QB, it's a copycat league. Well, look at Philly. Look what their defense did. How many guys did they have having sacks?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're all over the place. Yeah. So I think they want that. Obviously, every team wants that, but I think they're trying to build towards that. And again, I think, every time Eric was inside, now granted, sometimes he fell down. I know that. But he penetrated almost every single time he was in that 3 technique. That's only going to help us.
I think the Ogba thing to me is trying to figure out for a player that to this point in his career, he has been a guy that you would expect 5 to 8, 9, right? Like that's kind of what his career has been. But that's been a career where he's mostly been a starter.
Yeah.
Right? Like he hadn't been the third edge guy.
Last year he was, so wasn't he?
He started all 16 games.
Okay.
For the Dolphins last year. I think he wound up playing, generally he winds up playing somewhere in that 70 to 80% snaps, which I don't think he's going to get. I
don't think he'll get that.
Right, like here in Jacksonville.
He could get 50 to 60.
Right, which is why it's hard for me to be all that bullish on him being that third 5-sack guy. Man. It's the opportunities I think are going to be limited for him compared to what they've been to this point in his career. Like, let me pull up the snap numbers for him. But
just think of this. So while you're doing that, we know our base. We just named the 4. Now we get into the passing downs, right?
Yeah.
Now you throw in Ogba, right, and you drop down Trayvon. Right. If McLeod could show you anything from the edge, just to change a pace speedster off the edge, you can find a way to get him in there. You know what I mean? With Armstead, with Josh Hines Allen. Yeah. You're going to move Mason out, I think, for passing downs and then figure that out.
Yeah, I think he'd have to have the season he had in 2023 essentially here this year. I'm not saying he's not capable of it. Yep. He had 5.5 sacks that year for Miami. Played in 15 of the 17 games, only started one of them. So he was truly the third edge guy. Played a quarter of the snaps that year. He's going to get more than that.
Yeah, I think so.
This season for Jacksonville. That's the lowest career number he had, was just playing a quarter of the defensive snaps when he was out there. But like last season, he started all 16 games, played 73% of the snaps. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle there. I think he's going to be in that 55.
Right. That might have been out of need for Miami then, as opposed to
Bradley
here.
Chubb was hurt.
Right.
Like he didn't play at all last year. So his opportunities expand.
Yep.
Those kind of things happen across the league.
It shows you he can start for you if you need him to, which is great.
But it's even with 2 years ago with the limited opportunities, he got 5.5.
Yep.
Last year with the playing 3/4 of the snaps, he had 5. Right? So it's trying to figure out now, going into his age 32 season, what is fair to expect out of Emmanuel Ogba.
Right.
And in my mind, I think 5 would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? Like if he's a 5-sack guy for the football team this year, I think he's had a fantastic year for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
And I expect it to fall more in that 3-4 range. I think is more likely where it's going to fall. But if he does become that kind of third 5-sack guy, that would be a really, really good year.
I guess I look like 5 for a defensive lineman, maybe interior, but not an edge. I don't think that's, anybody worth their salt should be able to get 5 sacks if you're getting 60% of the snaps from the edge. Be hard from the interior, a little bit different. Now, if you're a linebacker getting 5 sacks, that's incredible. You know what I mean? On blitzes and that type of thing. Then, so it's funny how D-line to me, it's different only okay, things. But linebacker blitzing, it's awesome. You know what I mean? I guess I expect more.
Like if Devin Lloyd was a 5-sack guy, he had a monster year.
Yeah, that's a huge year coming from an off-ball backer, right? So
if they can get to that kind of thing. And there aren't a whole lot of guys that we haven't talked about specifically that are even real candidates for this. Devon Hamilton's not a candidate for this. Jordan Jefferson's not a candidate for this. The only other guy that's even worth mentioning would be Devin Lloyd. As the potential, because we've seen flashes of him being able to do that. No one's made him that kind of guy. Like that's not what he's been asked to do since he got here to Jacksonville yet. Even if, Tommy, you've been asking for it. Plenty of people have been asking, can they just kind of let him play edge? Every now and then a little bit.
Yeah, and for the record, I think he's more effective inside standing up on the line of scrimmage. I mean, he has shown he can get to the QB. I think they got to have a package with him as one of the 4 and let him roam. Maybe he does line up outside. Maybe he lines up inside. Maybe he's working games with one of the other defensive linemen. Yeah. I've mentioned it before. Joel Schmingy, he used to be our bat. It was called the bat package, and it was 3 down linemen and Joel. And Joel would roam the line of scrimmage before the snap, and then when it snapped, he's working games with one of the linemen. He's chipping the line, the offensive lineman, letting the guy come underneath him. Then they both go. It's very effective. Mm-hmm. I think Devin Lloyd could play the bat all day long in passing down.
Yeah, I know I mentioned it during a break earlier. It's when we were discussing the Devin Lloyd stuff. And I think it is true at this point in Devin Lloyd's career that Devin Lloyd, when he's on the field defensively, he is the reason you run motion before the snap to see if they're in man or zone. Because if they're in zone and you're the offense playing against Devin Lloyd, if they show that Devin Lloyd is likely to be playing zone somewhere, I think the play call goes, where is he at?
Yep.
That's where the ball needs to find, right? We know he struggles enough with this area in his game that we can exploit this kind of thing. Now, if they show man, I don't think you feel like you have all that much of an advantage with Devin Lloyd because he's a good enough athlete that he's just covering a guy. I think he's fine. It's when you know you're getting to a point where he's having to communicate X, Y, and Z to make sure everybody's on the same page and he's in the right spot. That's where his game has struggled to this point in his career. It makes sense to me, given how effective he can be when you blitz him, to let him do that. Right? Let him do it more than you have so far. I think that's the most effective way to use him.
For sure. Now, look, I think he can cover. I just think he gets lost in coverage.
That's the zone thing.
And man, because when they would go 4 strong last year, the recount didn't seem to be happening. But in his defense, I mean, they had him doing some weird stuff, too. Remember then they were doing the...
Yeah, they'd split half man, half zone,
Well, no, not just that. But remember they'd have, like, him and a safety cross, like they both got the hook, which basically all you got to do is drop back 5 feet or 3 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
They had them like crossing each other. And then to react back, it was just like, man, you got these guys out of position. So that was weird. And then even Caldwell 2 years ago was doing that, splitting the secondary vertically. One side's playing zone, one's playing man. Listen, I was a pretty heady player. Like that was good part of my game. Like I knew what was going on. I'd be confused. Like, who do you let go? Who do you not let go? Who do you stay on? Like, it's too confusing. I will say this, and I know even last year when they were having problems in the coverage game with Lloyd, and by the way, Foye made some mistakes too. He wasn't perfect in his coverage. They don't seem or weren't seeming to communicate. You know, you can remember that one, I forget who it was against, maybe it was Miami, I can't remember, but offset eye, tight end offset back. And you've got man-to-man. And one of you's got the tight end and one of you's got the back. And they never, like, before the snap, I even went back and I remember watching it, they never communicate. They're like, because you're supposed to in-out that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take the inside guy, you take the guy in the flat instead of us trying to squeeze through the pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just talk it through. But it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of communication there. But regardless, I think Devin Lloyd's very effective against the run. He's very instinctive. He's got a good nose for the ball, and he thumps. He's a good hitter. I think when it's passing downs, I think you got to get him in that front 4 and let him roam around a little bit. I'm not saying he's our next edge, but you got to get him involved in some blitzes or some pressure or what have you. By the way, Foyer's a good blitzer too, for the record.
Sure.
They need to send him more too.
Yeah.
I want more aggressive play calling on defense. This read and react stuff drives me nuts. Like, you got to dictate some things. I don't mind. Look, you got to keep them off balance, right? You got to play zone. You got to play these things sometimes. But you got to dictate more than not. You got to take it to them. Don't let them sit there and think that, my front 4. Yeah. Now, look, if the front 4 ends up being so good that you don't have to bring extra, I mean, what a fantastic thing. But the reality is that's probably not the case.
It usually works. And there certainly can't be an expectation that that's going to be how it works.
That's a luxury if you get that.
Right? Like, if you get it, you get it. That's 2017, right? Like, you can do whatever you want to do on defense. We'll see if they can get to that kind of level. I don't expect that to be the kind of defense that they're able to play this year. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, it's more hopeful than not.
Right, kind of adjust. We'll get to the poll results, at least here this morning on the Chad and Sandy Real Estate Question of the Day. How many players will finish the 2025 season with 5 or more sacks for the Jaguars? 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5 or more. Also let you hear a cut or two from The Hunt that premiered last night. Episode 2 of The Hunt, as we get the behind-the-scenes look of how Travis Hunter winded up here in Jacksonville. That'll put a bow on this edition of Jaguars Today. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today. From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. 1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
You mad? Yeah, I'm mad! Good and mad! Yeah!
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
What do you want to do about it? Feels good, doesn't it?
The Drill.
Yeah!
Mornings on 1010XL.
Now, Tom, I got some respect.
Are you ready to step up to luxury?
Check out the power of our exciting 2025 lineup, including the Lyric, IQ, Optique, and the stunning Vistique.
With over 15 electric Cadillacs in stock and more on the way, it's the perfect time to trade in your Tesla and embrace luxury with a twist.
At Randy Marion, there are no tariffs. Visit Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville, and see why our electric lineup turns heads.
Don't miss out. Drive Cadillac, electric or gas. We have both. Plus tax tag title $9.99 admin fee and resistol on approved credit.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Go to WM.com/Duval.
Enhance your home with Renewal by Anderson's superior craftsmanship and timeless design. Right now, buy 2 windows or patio doors and get the third at 60% off. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. This offer expires May 31st. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security, those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes, nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com, COYLE, jacks.com.
Baseball is back. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball at the newly renovated Five-Star Ballpark is your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game and kids round the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jackshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
I'm Max Fink on your Gator station. 1010XL is your pipeline to Gator Nation. Listen to the Gator Report all year round.
Freshened up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators. 1010XL.
Go, Gator!
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. Let's start with some cold, hard truth. Here's why Awaken 180 Weight Loss is your road to freedom. It's fast, it's easy, it's safe. You're not shooting chemicals into your body every week. You're eating real food every single day. You're not listening to an overpriced celebrity tell you about magical new food or asking you to count points or calories. You're just eating food and losing weight. It's that simple with Awaken 180 Weight Loss. You know what else you're doing while losing weight with Awaken 180? Eliminating pain, fitting into clothes you haven't worn in years, sleeping through the night and waking up refreshed and energized and happy. I lost 40 pounds in 9 weeks on Awaken 180, and Hacker lost more than 110 over the course of a year. It's a life-changing road to freedom. Doesn't matter what your goal weight is, Awaken 180 Weight Loss will get you there quickly and safely, a clear path to success without disappointment. Awaken 180. Give them a call, 844-346-1800, or go online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Checkmate coatings. Your floor's missing piece. Premium flooring. Take our advice. Home business, affordable price. Driveways, pool decks, garage doors, beautiful patios, and more to explore.
simple way to boost your company's image without a big renovation? A fresh paint job in your brand's colors can increase recognition up to 80%. At Performance Painting, we help companies stand out with clean, on-brand finishes that impress clients and energize employees. From color consultations to low-odor coatings that won't disrupt operations, we've got you covered. Visit performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Hey, Hicken here. So much of what makes us a family takes place in our homes. That's where Zero Res comes in. I love Zero Res, and this month get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet and air duct cleaner with May Mayhem. A 3-room special starting at $149 plus the 4th room is free. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res 28757 or go online at zeroresjacksonville.com and say you want the Hicken special. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
David here with Royal Pest Services. Man, don't let your yard be torn up by that heavy aeration machine this spring. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to learn more about our granular aeration. Broadcast throughout the tree and shrubs to break up that compacted soil. Visit RoyalPestServices.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Talking a lot of pass rush with the Jacksonville Jaguars today. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today, asking how many players will finish the 2025 season with 5 or more sacks for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your options 1 to 2, 3, 4, or 5 or more. As I mentioned, having looked at the first 30 seasons of Jaguars football, they've had 2 seasons with 5 or more players with 5 or more sacks. So it's rare air. Yep. And in that regard, they've had, after that, it's the most seasons they've had is exactly 3.
Yep.
Or exactly 2 players with 5 sacks. Past that, it's 4, and then it's 3, and then it's 5 or more as far as in those ranges. So it's the 1 to 2, 4, 3, 5 and up.
Yep.
I would vote 2. Would be my vote.
Okay.
Ultimately here, Tommy. Where'd you land?
I'm going 5.
Oh man,
I really am. I
it.
think they're all going to be at 5. The bottom 3 of my 5, and that's Armstead, and that's Smith, and that's Agba, and then the other guys are going to be double digits.
Yeah, it'd be a big year. 3 getting the most of the vote with 52.1%. 4 getting 30.9% of the vote. 1 to 2 getting 12.2%, and then 5 plus at 4.8% on the
Dream big or go home, baby. Dream big or go
home. This morning, we haven't had the opportunity yet to hear from the Hunt yesterday, but James Gladstone, the Jaguars' new GM, specifically on that episode that they released yesterday afternoon, talked about the idea for the trade when it came up to go up and get Travis Hunter.
Early April, James came up with the idea. And all 3 of us love Travis Hunter and wanted to see him in a Jaguar jersey. To be honest, I wasn't thinking about, could we trade up? I mean, it kind of crosses your mind. James came to Liam and I. We're sitting in the draft room, and he says, we think about maybe making a phone call to Cleveland and New York and see if we can move up and try to get Travis. I pretty much immediately, at least in my mind, was like, why not? And if we have a chance to go get a generational talent, a guy who's trying to redefine the game of football as far as playing on both sides of the ball, I think it's a great idea.
I don't know that there was much expectation as much as it was just curiosity. And we were in the discovery phase, right? Exploration and, seeing if there was, in fact, a path to make it come to life. Once we got through the owners' meetings and established some initial lines of communication, with all the general managers across the league, we were able to go deeper. And at that point in time, Andrew Barry and I were able to dive into what would become the framework for ultimately the move from 5 to 2.
Yeah, the Jaguars do a fantastic job with that series.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's well worth the
best in the league.
40 minutes or so to get a look behind the scenes of how that whole thing went down. But it's not like we've very often in NFL history had the kind of exposure to the behind-the-scenes stuff like you're looking at there. Like NFL films every now and then would give you kind of a glimpse behind there, and now that's being taken over basically by the individual teams across the league as to how much access they're willing to give you, right, to what the process is behind the scenes. It's not that anybody who's a fan of the team isn't going to be interested in how'd y'all pull this off exactly?
No, right.
Like getting from 5 to 2 for this specific player in this draft and kind of the rationale behind it. Like they've expressed whatever they've expressed publicly, but kind of the flow of it, the evolution of it as it was happening. It really is interesting to watch how that kind of thing happens.
Listen, he was the number 1 player in the draft, so that's all you got to say about it. To be able to jump up and grab him is absolutely incredible. I'm a little skeptical on the both ways thing. I really got to see it to believe it, and how they're going to do it, and how much they're going to do it. Mm-hmm. But like I said earlier in the week, I'll be honest. I just want him to score touchdowns and make our offense that much better. If he plays defense, that's just gravy. But let me ask you this, because curious, do you need him to play corner? Because they drafted, because they went up, and because James said, "Hey, he's the number 1 corner, he's the number 1 receiver," But do you, as a fan, do you need him to play corner? Like, are you going to be disappointed if at the end of the day, we're like, you know what, this guy's just a really good receiver, and he brings us way much more value that way, and he's scoring for us? By the way, that's how I would feel. Like I'm not going to sit there like, no, he's got to play corner, or that's a bad move. I'm not going to say that. As long as he's productive.
If at any point in, especially the early part of Hunter's career here, it becomes clear that he is a really dynamic player at one or the other position, and the team decides, and he decides that's where my focus is going to be, I'm fine with that. Right? Like if it winds up that he is a superstar as a wide receiver or as a corner, and he focuses on one or the other, I'm fine if that's where it ultimately lands. I'm also very on board with figuring out whatever both looks like until it doesn't need to be that anymore. Like I'm comfortable with the trajectory of this thing right now as to whatever it's going to look like.
Yeah, like I don't need him to play corner at all, to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, well, you should have traded up for him. He's just going to play. No, if he's a great wide receiver and
that's good enough.
I'm great.
If he's a great player, who cares where you drafted him or what you paid, right? Like that kind of stuff shouldn't come into the calculus on that kind of very often. Before we get out of here, let's say hello to the ladies at Helmets and Heels.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
As we say hello to Taylor Dahl out at Kia on Atlantic, I believe is where you ladies are today. Is that correct?
Hey, Tony. Yep, we are here at Kia on Atlantic, formerly known as Kia on Southside. They moved down a little bit farther to near Kernan Boulevard now, but huge new showroom. We're hanging out here, giving away a bunch of stuff today. We have Jaguars tickets to the home opener we're going to be giving away. Kia themselves are giving away a couple free oil changes, a couple free tire alignments. They're also giving away a set of tires to Kia owners. So if you drive a Kia and you swing by, say hello, the first 2 will get a set of tires. So lots of giveaways out here at the new showroom.
Very nice. How would you answer our question of the day today, Taylor, where we asked how many players will wind up with 5 or more sacks for the Jaguars this season? 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5 plus. How would you answer?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've talked a lot about that defensive line, and I'm still kind of in the world of I don't think they did quite enough on the line to immediately impact. I think you're counting on a lot of guys. To me, you're counting on a Devon Hamilton looking like the Devon Hamilton we've seen a few years ago, and you're hoping that Eric Armstead moving back to his natural position tries to kind of get that uptick that we had seen at moments in San Francisco, and then you're counting on a young guy in Mason Smith continuing to develop and be that guy too. So to me, it's kind of hard to put a direct number because I think there's a lot of hope in those sentences of what you're hoping a lot of these guys do these things. But I think I would still say there's an increase, and to me, it's directly correlated to the Agba signing because you do have another guy on the edge that can get to the quarterback. We're hoping we see Devin Lloyd maybe kind of have that job to where he's getting there a little bit more. So I do probably want to say maybe that 4. What was it? Was it 4 or 5?
Yeah, they split it up between 3, then 4, then 5 plus. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll say 4 right now.
Okay. 4.
Yeah.
I said
Fair.
2.
Yeah.
Tommy said 4.
I said 5.
You said 5.
I'm going all in.
Tommy's all in.
Yeah. I think Eric's more of a hope moving inside.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But I think Mason, I agree with that. I agree there's some hopefulness there.
Yeah, and I was listening to you guys on the way here kind of chat about that a little bit and the expectations of what Agba could be, Tony, when you were going through what he did as a rotational piece compared to what he did as a starter, and it was kind of similar. But what I think what we do see in the NFL a lot of times is that DeMarcus Walker has kind of been his career has kind of been like that, where he's better as a rotational piece. When you don't ask him to do too much, he's able to just kind of go out there and get to the quarterback when he needs to, and I do think that may benefit Agba a little bit here, having two guys that, with Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen be able to consistently get to the quarterback. That just opens up those opportunities for the obvious passing downs for him to just kind of go ham and go get the QB, which we've needed a lot of.
No doubt. Certainly he's the best rotational pass rusher they've had in a while here in Jacksonville, so we'll see what kind of dividends that pays. All right, we'll be listening, Taylor.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, so Helmets and Heels coming up next here on 1010XL. That'll do it for us. What do you got coming up this weekend, Tommy?
Oh, I got a couple nights off from rehearsing, so that's kind of cool. We rehearsed every night this week, so I'm going to be chilling. I'm playing actually golf in the Hope Charity event, which is going to be fantastic. That's tomorrow. I'm playing in the tournament. So looking forward to hanging out with the Zitello family and all that great organization, helping people with pancreatic cancer. So that'll be good. Other than that, just chilling, man. I need some rest and relaxation, Tony. I feel like I've been running and gunning, and it's time for and I got to cut the yard still. Goodness
well, I
gracious.
Appreciate the running and gunning with us this week.
Good times. Good times. Had fun.
Appreciate it, buddy. How about you, Dylan? How would you vote in the poll today, and what do you got coming up this weekend?
I'd say 3 people. I'd say Eric Armstead joins Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen getting 5 sacks, and I'll just be hanging out, play 18 holes of golf on Sunday, Saturday. I'm going to cut the grass and probably just hang out.
All right. Sounds good. I got Vanderbilt starting their attempt to win another national championship in baseball. Number 1 team in the country, in case you haven't heard. The Vanderbilt Commodores. That'll get started tonight, so I'll be locked in on that. Hope everyone has a good weekend. Mike Dempsey will be back with us on Monday after finishing up his assignment. So, for and on assignment, Mike Dempsey. For Dylan Denmark, for Tom McManus, I'm Tony Smith. Helmets and Heels.